There's a girl in the garden.
I think Bigfoot is blurry. That's the problem. It's not the photographer's fault.
Give me back the board, Lance. It was a good board, and I liked it. You know how hard it is to find a board you like.
Okay, so today I will be talking about two movies that I went to see recently at the movie theatre, or it's also called a cinema in the United Kingdom. So I went to see Asteroid City by Wes Anderson. And I went also, maybe I should go closer to the microphone like this. I went to see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And it's a difficult time at the moment. Oppenheimer is very, there's lots of people are saying a lot of good things about it. It came out like a week after the Indiana Jones, and so I had to make a decision, Anyway, so the Asteroid City is the Wes Anderson, and it was actually really good. And the soundtrack, I think the soundtrack helped it a lot. There were great songs in there, and the cast was very interesting. He's put ton of people in there. There's even a sequence at the beginning with miniatures, and it looks completely real. And I was very inspired to start doing my own stuff again with miniatures. So after a while of thinking about it, the Indiana Jones, when you were percolated, and maybe 3 days afterwards, once you had calmed down a little bit, the start of the movie, the beginning sequence, we got to be honest here. It's got major problems. It's very, very frustrating for us here to sit here and look at it, because, it cost, the movie cost like 300 million or something. And then you discover, they tell you that 100 artists worked on those shots, that were clearly CG. And they could have done a subtle deep fake of Harrison Ford, or they could have hired Anthony Gruber, and you would have got rid of all of these problems, and it would have been really, really good. Somebody try and convince me that this isn't the case. It's a disaster, actually. It's a complete...
I should have mailed it to the Marx Brothers. Will you take it easy? Take it easy!
It's a total disaster. If you look at the man who they hired, so they hired this guy. He's called, what's he called now? So he's called, it's something like Canuck, or, I can't remember at the moment. But his YouTube channel has a lot of, incredibly good work on it. And he was hired because the work was so good. And this happens again and again and again in Hollywood. They want somebody, they're like, oh, look at that, let's hire him. Oh, let's not allow him to do... It happened with Edgar Wright, with Ant-Man. I'm sure that would have been a better movie if Edgar Wright had been allowed to do what he wanted to do. But the thing about deep fake is that the person has to be facing the camera for it to work. So there's a compromise. You can't, the actor can't turn their head. And in this sequence at the beginning, you can see that he is turning his head a lot, and you can see that it's you just can tell it's CGI. And it actually reminded me of the Dwayne Johnson, there's a bit at the very end of The Mummy Returns where Dwayne Johnson, they CG'd his head, and And we're all the way back to that again, and that's about 23 years old. So when some people say that CG is actually never going to be able to do it, they might be right. I don't know. We'll see. And then the rest of the movie is actually it's actually quite good, except maybe for the very very end. There's like a little bit at the end that it's questionable, but the way that the whole thing is written, the writers can defend it. They were quite clever with that. But there's a lot of people pretty annoyed about the end of that movie. But this is a movie that is way better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Definitely something that I will rewatch, and yeah, I have to give it like a 7 out of 10. Maybe that will go down. I don't know. It is frustrating that the start of it isn't very good, and the train and everything. There's just way too much CG. It's a really bizarre one, because if you followed this movie, and I did follow this very closely, they filmed, with a real train, and they had real motorbikes and cars and everything. And but when it comes to the thing, I think they film on digital cameras, and then they digitally grade it, and so you're going through all these things, and you end up with something that looks very CG. Unfortunately, it's sad. The Mission Impossible, and they're doing real stunts, but they're also adding a lot of CG to it as well. And I don't know, we just want something where the CG is not allowed. Like, let's put a rule before we film. Let's say no. We just want our practical stuff. So Asteroid City was actually had some of this practical effects at the beginning, and it was wonderful. That scene where the train is coming and the song is going, that was very special, actually, and I absolutely loved it. The movie was pretty good. It's funny, I didn't really realize, but both of these movies that I went to see, they were both science fiction, and I'm just sort of lean towards that. That's really, I think, all there is to say at the moment. So, goodbye.